You are listening to the Partner Up podcast by Welcome to Bundaberg. I'm Gayle Reynolds, and in this series you will hear from community leaders who are kicking big collaborative working together goals. We will highlight the successful partnerships, shedding light on the positive impact they have had on both businesses and the community. Welcome to Bundaberg aims to improve the health and well-being, work and lifestyle outcomes for people living in Bundaberg by activating and implementing a range of community-led strategies across a range of services for a more connected, cohesive community. Before we start today's episode, I would like to acknowledge country. I would like us to take a moment to reflect on the meaning of place and connection. In the spirit of reconciliation, I wish to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which we live, work and love on. I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging of all the lands, and I extend that respect to all First Nations peoples listening today.
Launching today a new idea and a collaboration between Impact and Wide Bay Kids about community hubs. Nancy, as General Manager, what is your role from Impact's perspective in this new idea?
Thanks, Matt. So our role was really around listening to the community and looking at some of the feedback that we'd received. So we've received survey results from current clients, previous clients, and also used some of the work that other agencies have done in consulting with young people and child and families like Wide Bay Kids, and looking at some of that local reporting to inform, what the gaps are and potentially what our response can be. And one of those, responses was really around the community actually saying that they would love to have a community hub really centred around child and families. So we saw that there was, an opportunity for us to actually bring together resources and really just try to support that initiative.
Okay. So where did the idea sort of go from the consultation and people saying, oh, this is an interesting idea and this would be helpful, to, okay, we're actually doing this?
Yeah, look, and that's a great question as well, because truth be told, it's obviously not a new idea. This is something that has been spoken about for years. It's been replicated in other areas. So there's proven research, evaluation and models that actually exist, especially in regional areas. So we are looking at some of that material to help inform what the framework or model looks like. But making it place-based, which is important. So the team were really actually the ones in trying to bring this alive. There was a lot of, yes, it's a need, yes, we should do something, but it was probably about just creating capacity and intent around it. So, and we were really fortunate, like I said, at Impact, to be able to actually, stand up, I suppose, this project. So we set aside some funds, we've been able to dedicate some resources to it. So, yes, absolutely driving it, but for us, it's around a community-led initiative and very much informed by our partners and community.
So what do you envision this actually looking like? What would the physical representation of a community services hub focused on children and families actually look like?
So there's probably a couple of elements to it. So one is around the actual environment. So when we talk about a hub, we obviously start thinking of a physical setting or building. We want to create a safe, welcoming space for children and families. And we see that actually being a mixture of different service providers in that one location working in an integrated way. So multidisciplinary providers, early childhood, there could be a health and medical component, education, young person mental health services as well, and being able to actually just provide that holistic support. So when someone walks through the door, it's a safe space. They can participate as much or as little as they'd like in regards to activities, or connect with services and get a timely response. So that's really the objective. What it looks like, we're hoping doors will open in a few months and we'll actually identify a premise, but we're really keen to evolve with the community. So yes, we will have a model in mind and we'll, have sort of partners come in and actually join us on this initiative. But for us, it's really important to actually make sure that we stay very open and responsive to what the community are needing as well. So that will evolve as time goes on.
All right. We'll move on to Gayle. Gayle, Wide Bay Kids perspective. You're only a really small organisation, very grassroots, so you're getting out there and getting a name and being involved specifically with smaller projects. This is a pretty big thing. So how is a small organisation like Wide Bay Kids actually going to handle being the facilitator?
Yeah, so our role in this project is to ensure that our knowledge as a grassroots organisation moves the project in the right direction. So the work that we do around project managing is to make sure that the community's voices are heard in the development and the design of the project. Because as Nancy said, we want this to be very responsive and to the needs of what the community want and really keep that in the centre and top of mind. And that's something that Wide Bay Kids do really well and have done so for the past 13 years in Bundaberg.
Okay. So when you look at the idea and when you look at the concept that you're trying to fulfill, what do you foresee as the first barriers that you've got to overcome?
I think there's a couple of things. Making sure we have the right location and facility is going to be key. We want to make sure that the space is friendly and welcoming, it's in the right position within our community, and it's accessible and inclusive to everybody. So that's the first thing. And I think the second thing is all about the people that are co-locating in that facility, to make sure that we're all on the same page, that we all have a shared set of values and we understand what it means to be able to serve the community in the way that the hub or the framework or the model that might look like.
Now, when you're looking at bringing together services, that's one thing, but the reality is that often there is overlap on services, there's overlap on what those services are actually able to offer. So how do you imagine bringing different services together under the one location when even in one government department, for example, that might be dealing with families, they might not be dealing with all aspects of families. So how are you going to overcome that?
Yeah, and I think that's a really great question. It's a work in progress. These models and the evidence that has been collected over decades in Australia and around the world, this type of model works. And so it's about moving with what the evidence tells us, and it's about working together. And at a foundation level, all of the partners that come together need to have that joint understanding and alignment on what that looks like and feels like for the community. And the community themselves are a big part of that. So we really want to hear from people, and at the moment that's why there's an expression of interest out there for individuals, community members, families, as well as service providers, businesses and organisations in Bundaberg to have their say on how working together will work in Bundaberg. It's that integration of the services that actually gets really great results for families, and we know that through many different projects that have been held for a long time.
Okay. What about current working groups that are already around? You know, we hear a lot of good feedback from not so much a collaboration of organisations or businesses or government departments, but people who are working in key areas that come together, they consult with each other, they liaise with each other. Is this simply a carbon copy of that, or are you trying to do something different again?
We're definitely trying to do something different. This is about services working together in the same space. So from an operational point of view, there's actually a lot of work that goes into different organisations, services and departments actually working together. Like you mentioned before, it doesn't happen just by luck. There's actually a framework and a model that you have to implement, and it's hard work. You actually need to be in intent on what you're trying to achieve, and everybody has a part to play in that. So taking ownership and responsibility for where the direction of that comes from and leads to is part of everybody in that space, and everybody who's using the space.
Is there particular organisations or individual agencies that you've already worked out that you'd like to headhunt and have them be part of this new initiative?
Look, there are certainly some key stakeholders, some key people, relationships in the region that we've identified we want to go and talk to, and we'll we've already started and will continue those conversations, but we really also want to hear from those organisations that they might just be, sole traders that are in a family space that are looking to collaborate or work more closely with other organisations. So there's no one's off the table, so to speak. We want to talk to as many people as we can because, as Nancy said, this will evolve and change and adapt because our community isn't stagnant. We're always changing. The needs are changing all the time. So it's really important to demonstrate and show the community what we're doing to start, but it will evolve and change over time.
All right, just finally, help us understand the relationship here between White Bay Kids and Impact. Now, Nancy's already said that Impact have provided some of the funding for this particular concept. White Bay Kids will be the facilitator. So how does that relationship work? And I guess, how do you envision two different styles of organisations coming together to help move this project forward?
Yeah, well, this is a key point of difference, I think. Even at the foundation level, Impact Community Services have been in the region for over 45 years and are a true leader in this space, in community service space. And I look at White Bay Kids as we're just in our infancy. We've been around for about 13 years, but really leading that grassroots innovation when it comes to working together and community understanding. And just that partnership alone demonstrates, I think, to the community that even though we might work in different spaces at different levels, it's actually about forming a mutual understanding of what we envisage this to look like and partnering together to make that happen.